I'm Alex Vagabond, welcome back to the channel, and in today's video I am doing a day of fly fishing down here on the South Island of New Zealand. We're just outside of Wanaka in central Otago. It's one of the most beautiful corners of the country, and I'm linking up with a fly fishing guide slash entrepreneur, Matt Butler at Travel Truly. As many of you know, I am an avid fly fisherman, and it's something that I have been practicing and trying to learn as much about over the last probably about 5 years. And last time I came to New Zealand, I came to the South Island, which is one of the fly fishing meccas of the world, and I was skunked. I didn't catch any fish, and I think that's because fishing here requires some skill, it requires some local knowledge, and it requires some patience. And so that is why I have met up with Matt. He is a local fly fishing guide here in the Wanaka district. You can follow him at Travel Truly on Instagram. So today Matt is going to take me fly fishing. We are going to learn a little bit about the do's and the don'ts of fly fishing down here on the South Island of New Zealand. And hopefully for those of you watching who are interested, you can have some practical, useful information for your next fly fishing trip to the South Island of New Zealand. So let's get into it. All right, Matt, so what's the plan?
Well, we'll head over the top, go see if we can find some rainbows.
Flash quiz, you're fishing the South Island, give me some tips.
I'd say first thing you need is some decent sunglasses.
Yeah?
You need to, you need to be able to see the fish, that's the main thing. So polarized with a bronze tint on them to help with contrast and take the glare off the water. So down south, I mean, we don't just stand in a pool and chuck it in and hope for the best. We walk and we hunt each individual fish, and until we find them we don't stop or start casting. So watch and observe before you just jump in, otherwise a lot of the fish will be right at your feet. So if you just jump in and go for it, you'll probably spook most of them away.
Yeah, I'm definitely really good at that. So when I say that the South Island, New Zealand is one of the premier fly fishing destinations in the world, it's for two reasons. Firstly, the fish here can get really, really big. And secondly, it's one of the most scenic places in the world, as you can see from where we're walking around right now. Look at these guys. Rock climbing. Pretty awesome. Matt and I were just chatting about one of the beautiful things about New Zealand is there's so much wilderness, and it's pretty much stress-free because there really isn't anything here that could kill you. There are no rattlesnakes, there's no bears, there's no cougars, at least not the cat types. And you know, there's really nothing here that's super dangerous other than, you know, tripping and falling and hurting yourself. So as long as you keep, you know, your eyes peeled and stay on top of your feet, pretty much good to go. If you are a viewer from the US of A, or even really from Canada, you might get the vibe. Personally, when I come down here to this part of the South Island, central Otago, it really just feels like Montana or Wyoming, or maybe Alberta in Canada. But yeah, it's just absolutely stunning country.
Yeah, so we're just walking up the river now and looking for basically looking for fish. There's no point really just jumping in and fishing it, because if they're there we'll see them. The water's clear enough, it's low enough, the fish are big enough that if they're there we will see them. So we just slowly walk this bank, use the sun behind us, and just look for colours, shadows, movement that doesn't look quite right. There's a lot of stuff in here that is dark, it's fish shaped, but if you look at all the things like the shape, the shade and the movement, it just doesn't line up. So you just keep walking till you see one, and then we'll set up then. No point setting up until we actually see a fish. So
correct me if I'm wrong, but most of the time fish, especially trout, are staying face upstream, right?
Yep, every time. Yep. So they will never be in any other way than straight into the current unless there's a back eddy, and even then they'll still be in the current. So if it ever looks like it's slightly kinked against the flow, you know it's not a fish, because it would always be directly in the flow. They need that to breathe. So only other time you see them going down is when they're running away from you. They don't really like the open. Unless they're feeding hard, they'll always be sort of close to cover. And because we're looking for rainbows here, we can look in the faster water and just on these edges. So there's not going to be anything in the shallow stuff to the right. They're all going to be in that slightly deeper stuff when there's a bit of an undercut. They basically need somewhere to run away to if shit hits the fan. So otherwise they won't be there.
One thing I've kind of noticed though down here is that like back home in the States, like fish are way more skittish with looking up because there's like osprey and there's birds that can hunt them from above, whereas New Zealand, there are birds of prey here, but they don't
attack the fish.
They don't attack the fish. And
so they're none of the hawks or anything. You get shags that will attack the odd babies, but none of the big fish worry about birds because there's nothing that can rip them up. I mean, I've been in the US and I've seen the osprey just sit on the lamppost and just watch, and then just go and nail them. So when I fished in the States and Montana and stuff, you would never see a fish in the open during the day. You'll just fish the banks and they'll be tucked under here. Whereas that's why in New Zealand we want the sun at the highest it can, and we want to be able to looking in the middle of the river where they're going to be feeding. They're not going to be, unless they're sleeping, they're not going to be tucked under the banks.
But you know, in all honesty, as fun as it is to actually catch a fish, for me, the best part about it is just being out here. Like, how many activities are there where you get to hike up a river and have it pretty much to yourself? That's the best part about it. Heard a red deer. It's the roar. So you can hear them. You can hear the males calling out, challenging the others. We have spotted a fish. It's just up here, so you'll be crossing the river down by the rapids to try to keep the splashing to a minimum. Matt's just gonna get the rods set up and we'll see if we can get lucky. What are you saying about leaders?
So over in New Zealand, it's some people get pretty crazy. I mean, you've got to have a relatively long leader because the water's so clear. It's not only to the fish doesn't see it, but it's to give yourself a bit of leeway so that if you drop your cast a little bit too short, then you're not going to spook them, or a little bit too long. So some guys will range right up to 20-25 feet, but I usually go with a 10-foot tapered leader and then down to probably add 3-4 feet on the end. So you've sort of up to 15, sometimes 18 if you're desperate, but depends on the water and the river. Today we're just going to go with probably 12, 13. Depends how good your casting is, that's the key.
Depending on how good my casting is, that is the question of the day. That's the question. We'll see, fingers crossed. Hopefully there's some beginner's luck happening here. Are we throwing a dry fly on there?
Yeah, we'll start with the dry. He's feeding pretty happily, so he might come up straight away for one, and if he doesn't, then we can change from there. Dries are good because they're less intrusive, so you can chuck one over him and it wouldn't bore him too much, but if you chuck a nymph on him and get it in the wrong place, you can just spook him straight away. So you're better off just taking it easy to start, and if you have to put a nymph on afterwards, you can, but you don't have to go straight for it.
So ease into it.
Yeah, you've basically only got one shot or two shots, so you got to, with a dry fly you can get a little bit more out of it if you stuff it up.
It's like 8 Mile, you know? Got one chance, do not miss your... Well, Eminem,
Well, a lot of guys are, you know, a lot of my clients, they'll come, they got one day in their lifetime to fish New Zealand. They've been wishing it their whole life, and then they get here and they haven't practiced at all, and they get put behind a big fish and they go to cast it and they miss it.
Ugh.
It's very sad.
So is that the next piece of advice, is practice your cast?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I do a lot of, even now, I mean, I cast in my backyard in the off season and stuff, and always practicing, because you can't practice on the water because there's too much else going on. And especially when you're sight fishing here, there's a lot of mental pressure that goes behind actually having a fish in front of you that you can see feeding. But I've seen the best casters in the world go from that to nothing when they're put behind a big fish, just because they're not used to the pressure.
You're really getting me just really pumped here.
Yeah, well, that's the key when you're guiding, especially, is that I can see the fish, but technically you can't because you're down in the water. But the whole thing, you should be focusing on where you want it to land rather than fishing to a fish. So don't look at the fish, look at the water above it and where you want to land, because you need to land probably 2 to 3 feet above him. And if you land on his head, you're going to spook him. So just don't focus on the fish, focus on where you want it to go.
So if anything, overshoot.
You don't want to overshoot because you get too much, because then if this leader gets on top of him, it'll spook him. So you need to be exactly 2 to 3 feet.
Wow.
And I'll help with that. So
no pressure, guys, no pressure.
You just keep your casting slow, and then you can see it roll out, and your false casting, you can see where it is, so you can manage depth. You can look at the end of the fly line, or you can look at your fly if you can see it straight in, but you're just going to stand directly behind him. Pull all your line off before you start. Keep your false cast in there. I'll let you know when you've got enough line, and then after that, don't throw it all, don't just chuck it all Hail Mary, hold on to it tight and just lay it down where you want to go. Nice and gentle, just follow it through, and then if I ever yell yip, just strike like hell, because you might not see it. Sometimes it'll sink and you'll eat it and you won't see it. If you ever hear me a yip, just rip the shit out of it. When you strike, because it's a dry fly, if you see him come up, make sure he eats it and then goes back down before you strike. Don't pull it as soon as he hits it, because you'll just rip it straight out of his mouth. So now you're starting to understand why I have never caught a fish on the South Island of New Zealand. Good, that's right on him. Okay, chuck it up, I'll change the nibs. All right, so my South Island dry streak continues. I have presented the fly twice and twice had strikes, but they're so soft. And you know, if Matt weren't here calling it out, you wouldn't even know that the fish had taken the fly. We've tried a lot of stuff. We went for a San Juan worm, which is kind of like when all else fails, throw that on. But we're gonna give it a minute and try to spice up the menu a little and see if we can't catch this fish. Tell me about the New Zealand indicator. It's a system invented by a guy called Barry, I think it is. And he set up this thing here. I've actually can't even show it because I don't have any things on it. So you get the tubing, which comes in packets like this, and you cut it up into little sections. I think Barry's from Turangi, down near Taupo. And so you normally cut these up at home, chuck a bunch of them on, slide them on here. And then when you get your line and you want to put it on, you basically just chuck it over like that, hook that on, slide the plastic over, so you loop, then you get your wool. Different colours, different shapes, and you just make a nice loose bundle, chuck it in there, slide it up, and then it pops in, and then you can slide that up and down as you want, and it will never kink the line. And then that and you can wool, make it's like waterproof and it floats? Yeah, just naturally. It's sheep's wool, so it's merino, some of it. So it just naturally floats with the landline, and I'll add some floatant on it as well, just a little bit there. But the beauty about it is you can make them really tiny, so I can make them really small. Like, usually chop the top off, make it really just the flatter the top, the more contrast you have, the easier to see. So you can make them really small, and then you can slide them down as far as you need to, and it doesn't spook the fish. Whereas obviously other ones like bobbers and stuff are big balls that just sit there and can easily spook them. So look at that, so cool. And then you can slide off and reuse it. Epic. That's the best thing. Put it back on and away you go. Months or years to do that usually. You think that's just from the blog? Or just from social media and stuff, yeah. Just and being young, you know, got a whole nother market, because most of the guides in New Zealand are all over 50. So Okay, let's try that.
Alright, so back in.
Yep.
We're just running a little double nymph.
Yeah, so get the indicator there, a couple of feet. Got the heavy one on top, and then a lightly unweighted one on the bottom, slightly.
Yeah.
So in theory that will sink down, and then that's free floating.
Alright.
Lay it all the way down so you get all that line down. That's really long, that line came on line, but what's this one? Yep, you got him. That's what you needed, eh? Nice long one. Then do the same. Go to the yep, then take it all, then take it. Yep. Walk to the other side, go over it, and then to the left. Keep going. Run. Now turn the rod right. Yep. Now walk him down. I'll come to you. Down that side.
Grab that camera.
Yep. Just go all the way to that far bend over there, I'll bring it to you. Just keep walking them down to the point. Keep it to the right, turn it to the right. Keep turning them to the right. Yep. And then try land them at the back of that point in the soft water. Keep turning them to the right. Get them right in the back of that pool. Take them to the right, over the top, into the pool. Turn them right and walk out of the water a bit. Okay, just reel up your line more, reel in that leader.
Oh my god. What a fish.
Lift them right up to your shoulders. There you go.
Beautiful fish, you guys. Thank you. Back in. So cool. Like you said, like even just getting to the point where you've spotted the fish is work. Getting to the point where how many different flies did we go through? Like 5 different flies?
Yeah, 6, 7.
5 or 6 or 7.
Yeah.
And it's just like, try, present. If it doesn't take it, switch it. And we did that. We gave it time and we were patient and it worked. And then from the place where I caught the fish to where I landed the fish is a couple of 100 meters down the river. So, wow, that's an adventure.
Yeah,
So
you did well.
cool.
You did well to land your first one. Most people don't land their first one, so
Thank you, man.
good on you.
Wow, dude, that was epic. So that fish was sitting right in there. Hooked him. He ran up to the top, all the way back down, all the way down through here, over these set of rapids, into this deep pool. I'm trundling along there, and it wasn't towards the back of the pool that we actually landed the fish. So, you know, you guys can see it started there, all the way down through here, over the rapids, all the way through this, and then hooked him over there, netted him over there. That was epic. That was so fun. Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yep. I don't even know if that's in. That might be a different one.
Holy
Yep.
shit.
Walk with him. Walk with him. Got him.
Wow. Beauty. Beautiful fish. That
Yeah, it's
world famous San Juan worm. Wow.
Let's hold him there for a sec.
Beautiful.
It's a better one.
Nice. So one of the cool things that Matt has recently launched is a new outdoor survival kit called Kaia Kit, and we're gonna walk through it right now and just see what it involves, because I feel there's kind of a gap in the market for a good all-purpose first aid kit, survival kit, and this looks like a pretty real deal. So what's in there?
Yeah, so the inspiration sort of came from packing everything for when you go hiking, fishing, hunting, and normally you just chuck everything at the bottom of your pack, chuck it in Glad bags or plastic bags, usually forget half of it or it gets wet and damaged. So what we've come up with is this survival kit, which covers the main essentials. So you got your shelter, first aid kit, tools, and water. So it's all modular, so you can take out what you need when you need it, so you don't have to take everything at once. You can just take out first aid, chuck it in your bag for a short hike. Shelter is a full waterproof tarp, good for emergency shelter or gear cover or anything. Tools, you've got multi-tools, you've got a fire kit, you've got your head torch, your compass, all of that sort of essentials.
Wow.
And then you have your water filter straw, so it's a backup water supply, just in case you lose your drink bottle, drop something or run out of water, you've always got the backup to drink clean water and not get sick.
How much does it weigh all up?
At the moment, I think this is, the case itself is about 500 grams, and then it depends what you have in it. So it's nothing major, it just depends what you take. So we've got like the fire kit in here, we've got the knife, it's quite a major knife, so it's heavy, it's
oh yeah, this is a good knife.
hearty, so it won't break on you.
Is there another tool in that knife as well?
Yep, you've got proper pliers in this, which is great. This is
oh yeah.
So you've got full-blown pliers, and then you've got can opener, screwdriver, and then you've got a adapter toolkit with this that fits 10 pieces there.
Oh wow.
And then flicks onto that. So you've got
Onto
the
the
adapter, and then
Phillips
you've got all the pieces there.
That's epic.
So it's definitely a hardy piece of kit, and why I chose this is because it's made out of serious steel and it won't break on you like all the cheap ones out there. So you've got your fire kit and you've got all the different bits and pieces, duct tape to look after your gear.
Dude, this is like my version of like gear dream. Of just having it all nicely organized, everything in there, it all fits in, it packs up nice and clean.
Yeah, it's amazing nobody's really done anything like it yet. I mean, it's definitely needed, and we've got a survival guide there well, there's some basic stuff in there that you think you would know, but when things go bad, it's pretty easy to forget it all quite quickly, so it's nice to have it all in there.
Wow.
And yeah, it slips into your pack quite nicely. It's coming in, launching on Kickstarter in May. Especially good for the US summer coming up, so that's what we're targeting for. So
where can people find this?
It's at the moment you can sign up for launch, so it's on bereadyoutdoors.com, and you can sign up for launch. You can check the link below, and it'll launch on Kickstarter at end of May, and then you can check out everything about it then, back us then if you want something to look after you. And like I said, it's going to be everything you'll ever need for the car, for the boat, for the hiking, for the fishing, for the hunting. Basically covers everything. And
it fits, look at how small it is, look at that. Fits right into your bag. Love it. Yep. This is great. So if you need, most of us do, you need to take care of your outdoor survival system, you need a first aid kit, you need some shelter, you need some tools. It's all here, all fits in there in the Kaia Kit.
That's what it is.
Thanks, dude.
All right, thanks. Good day fishing.
Yeah, great day fishing.
Time to head back, and we'll check out the photos of it.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, friends, hopefully you enjoyed that video. If you did, you know what to do. Give it a thumbs up, click that subscribe button if you have not already, and make sure you go check out Matt's Kaia Kit. Go back it on Kickstarter, and if you can, leave a little comment, say that I sent you. All right, we'll see you guys in the next video. Hopefully you found this one enjoyable and learned something for your next fly fishing trip down the South Island of New Zealand. Catch you in the next one. Peace.